In Greenville, South Carolina, it is quarterfinals day of the SEC tournament and a matchup between the 1 seed, South Carolina, and the 8 seed, Vanderbilt. Vandy has some big-time young talent, led by Michaela Blakes, leading all freshmen in Division I in scoring over 23 points per game. Camille Pierre, she averages more than 20 a game as well, 4th in the SEC. South Carolina, meanwhile, has had a lot of success this time of year. Back-to-back SEC tournament titles, and of course last year's national champions. You are watching ESPN's Champ Week, presented by Principal. This is the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament. Taking a look at our bracket after this one, it'll be Kentucky, Oklahoma later on tonight, Texas, Ole Miss, and LSU, Florida. As we welcome you courtside. Hey everybody, Ryan Rucco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. So happy to be with you this Friday afternoon for the SEC Tournament on ESPN. Rebecca, South Carolina, we know they've had all kinds of success in the month of March, in this tournament specifically, and this year maybe their most pivotal player is actually a freshman, Joyce Edwards.
Joyce Edwards is their first team all-SEC performer, and she has led them in scoring, coming on off the bench. So important to what they do with her size inside, both offensively and defensively, and especially against an undersized Vanderbilt team. Joyce Edwards will be important.
Well, speaking of Vanderbilt, yesterday taking down Tennessee, first time ever they've beaten Tennessee twice in a single season, back-to-back 20-win seasons as well. And Michaela Blakes, Ayana Moore, Camille Pierre, really strong trio with Blakes leading the way.
I am delighted to watch Michaela Blakes play here in her first SEC tournament. She can simply fill it up. As you mentioned, she leads the nation in scoring in terms of freshmen. She can hit from 3. She is so dangerous off the bounce, has a knack for getting to the rim with some spectacular finishes. So vital here for Vanderbilt today for Blakes to stay on the floor and be productive.
For a little more on Blakes, let's send things over to another Hall of Famer. Here is Holly Rowe.
Well, it's funny how life becomes full circle at times. On the way home on a bus ride after another loss to Tennessee, Shea Ralph of Vanderbilt got a call that would change her life and this program. A FaceTime from Michaela Blakes saying, "I'm coming to Vanderbilt, coach. This freshman has changed this program. She's the most competitive player on the floor. She is a dog. They love how she has turned up the motor of every other player that she is fighting with. Not only that, she has 2 50-point games this year, the only second player in Division I history to do that. Michaela Blakes at FaceTime after a loss to Tennessee. She was crucial in the win against Tennessee with 24 points yesterday.
Thank you very much, Holly. Big time second half for Michaela Blakes yesterday as we take a look at the starting lineups. Blakes joined by Moore, Pierre, and then Jordan Oliver and Jane Waba to round out the starting lineup for Vanderbilt. For South Carolina, Te-Hina Pow, Raven Johnson, Bree Hall, Chloe Kitts, Sanaya Fagan. And remember, South Carolina with serious talent coming off the bench. Joyce Edwards, Tessa Johnson, Mylasia Fulwiley among them. Dawn Staley has been the head coach of an SEC tournament championship team in 8 of the last 10 SEC tournaments. And Shea Ralph done a wonderful job turning around this Vanderbilt program in her 4th season. And 45 wins over these last 2, most in a 2-year span in a decade and a half for Vandy. These teams met towards the end of February. An easy South Carolina victory, 82-54. But here they go in the SEC tournament quarterfinals.
See Vanderbilt starting out in a man-to-man as they're blitzing the ball screen right away, trying to get the ball out of Te-Hina Pow's hands. Ryan, when these teams met in February, Pow had the first 7 points of the game.
Trying to have the first 3 here, can't hit. Bree Hall on the offensive glass, sets up Kitts for 2.
And that's where South Carolina really thrived in their meeting in the regular season as well, getting all over the offensive glass. This is an undersized Vanderbilt team inside.
Lost some of their size, and Sasha Washington due to a blood clot issue. Sasha will come back next year as the foul is called here against Raven Johnson, so an early personal on Raven.
Raven Johnson has the defensive assignment on Michaela Blakes, and one of the ways you try to slow down a potent offensive player is prevent her from getting catches where she wants to get the ball. Expect South Carolina to be physical with Blakes here today.
Raven Johnson on the all-defensive team in the SEC. Michaela Blakes, first team all-SEC this year as a freshman. One of the candidates for National Freshman of the Year as well. Here's Pierre, an undersized big with a lot of footwork and skill. Couldn't finish there, and Fagan secures the rebound for the Gamecocks.
You notice, though, a second defender did come when Pierre caught it in the post.
Here's Hall. Off to Kitts. Pow dumping it down. Fagan, nice look inside, and Kitts able to finish. Chloe Kitts, the first 4 for South Carolina. Nice pass there on the interior from Fagan. And yeah, South Carolina #1 in Division I in paint points. They dominated that in the meeting on February 23rd.
And that was both their post players and their guards, including Fulwiley, getting inside.
How about how quick Pierre's able to make that spin?
Yeah, and she really likes to start her dribble penetration going to her right hand, but then you see the counter as she spins back to her left.
And she had 16 points, 15 rebounds yesterday, and dealt with foul trouble in that win against Tennessee. Here's Pow, 7 to shoot. Dishes out, Kitts, not that time. And the rebound secured by Vanderbilt.
You saw Vanderbilt defensively just switching everything. You can do that with like-sized players.
Blake's off on a 3, Pierre, the offensive rebound. Here's Blake spinning into the lane and cupping it in with the left hand.
I have a feeling you're going to be saying cupping it in quite a bit today when it comes to Blake's, because she does that part of her game so well, whether it's with her right or left hands.
She has a wide array of nifty finishes around the rim. As Holly mentioned, 2 50-plus point games this season for Blakes. Went for the steal there. Fagan has the pass taken away, and a travel called on Vanderbilt after the steal.
Let's get a little spin action on a Friday. First, you have Camille Pierre going to the right side, spinning back left, and then Blake's doing something very similar.
Pow step back 2 is short, and Pierre flags down the rebound. Here was a big performance from the trio of Vandy stars in the second round yesterday against Tennessee. One of the things Shea Ralph talked to us about was how Iana Moore hitting shots early kind of opened things up for Michaela Blakes as well.
Just keep in mind, yesterday was Michaela Blake's first SEC tournament game. Only a freshman.
Blake dumps it down. Waba able to lay it in. Jane Waba, who spent 4 years at Pepperdine, makes it a 6-0 Vanderbilt run. And another pass knocked away out of bounds to Vanderbilt.
Right.
As Dawn Staley's going to go to Joyce Edwards right away.
So the way Vanderbilt's defending, they're switching everything and then blitzing everything high. That time there was a fake handoff. You saw 2 Vanderbilt defenders blitz the South Carolina player who did not have the basketball. So you just see the different areas of the floor that they're trying to take away.
Like play action against the blitz.
I'll take your word for it.
Knocked away, taken by Hall, who is fouled. And significant because that foul is going to be on Michaela Blakes, her first.
So you see up top, they think the handoff is going, 2 players blitz, but Fagan keeps it, and then Vanderbilt has to recover. But you see, that's the area of the floor where they're really trying to get the ball out of the hands and get their backside rotating.
Here's the freshman Edwards, first team All-SEC. Joyce Edwards able to finish. Edwards at 17 and 12, Feb 23rd against Vanderbilt. As Moore buries the 3.
So important. Iana Moore is so important. We saw her have such a big game yesterday against Tennessee, but in the first meeting between these teams, she was almost non-existent out there.
Pow with the response. Pau led the nation in three-point shooting a season ago at 47%. This year, 38. Blake's back ironing off. Rebound, bangs around, and is out of bounds off of South Carolina. Going to stay here with Vanderbilt, as now Malaysia Fulwiley will check in for Dawn Staley. Fulwiley had an outstanding game February 23rd against Vanderbilt. 24 points in that performance. Jumper won't go for Pierre, and Fulwiley, just fun to see Fulwiley jump.
Yes.
Even on an uncontested rebound. Knocked out of bounds, stays here. And we'll step aside. Good action early, 9-9, Greenville. Well, how did South Carolina become the 1 seed in the SEC tournament? Well, unconventionally with a coin toss.
So flip the coin and tell us who that #1 seed is going to be next week.
And it will be South Carolina.
Fresh off seeing the coin toss, coin gods were in our favor. South Carolina, #1 seed. We got to make it count.
So my question is, what would be the name of the coin god in Greek mythology?
That's a good question.
Before the end of the game, I want you to come up with something for me here.
By the way, you saw that hug between Shea Ralph and Dawn Staley before the game. There were some really delightful, lovely hugs between the coaching staffs before the game.
There really were.
With all the assistants, it's just a lot of love between the programs before the game. As South Carolina 1 seed again, kids finishing on the interior. Holly?
Well, remember in the London 2012 Olympics, Shea Ralph was a video coordinator for that team, and Gino Auriemma and Dawn Staley was an assistant. They have spent a lot of time in the trenches scouting, video, winning gold medals together.
When you win those gold medals together, it'll bond you. Great point, Hal. And interestingly, Texas being the 2 seed, who we're going to see tonight on SEC Network, but of course they are ranked #1 in the nation. Will be the 2 seed here in the SEC tournament. South Carolina ranked 5th in the nation heading into this tournament. Here's Johnson. Tessa Johnson in off the bench. Pass, a little careless, taken away. Blake's running ahead and lays it in.
Vanderbilt, especially because of their lack of size, wants this game to be played quickly, up and down. They said they can't just go against a set defense the entire game.
Fulwiley can't finish it. Blake swinging it ahead. Here's Moore. Moore finds the cutter. Pierre through a crowd, couldn't reverse it in. Loose ball eventually lands in the lap of Kitts. Johnson guarded by Oliver. Jordan Oliver did a really nice job yesterday with breaking the Tennessee press and played all 40 minutes for Vanderbilt as Fulwiley loses it out of bounds. South Carolina turns it over for a 4th time.
Talking to Dawn Staley before the game, and she was saying sometimes it can be a little bit of an advantage for a team like Vanderbilt who's already touched the floor.
Yes.
They've already played an SEC tournament game. You know, this is South Carolina's first after the double bye.
And she said specifically early in the game as well can be an area where you feel that. Maddie McDaniel in off the bench for South Carolina. Here's Moore digging in, shoveling, a little push shot is good for Oliver. 13-11, Vanderbilt leads it. First quarter action. Johnson in air is going to be #2 on Michaela Blakes. So 2nd foul on Michaela Blakes. Several college basketball rivalry games highlight our ESPN schedule Saturday. These are featured matchups, big time. Tripleheader here, #1 Auburn hosts #7 Alabama at 2:30 Eastern, followed by #24 Arizona and Kansas, then Cooper Flag and 2nd-ranked Duke take on North Carolina.
Ryan, when these teams met in the regular season, Blake's also picked up 2 fouls in that first quarter. As you see, Fagan go in and score, and Shea Ralph put her back in. She played a significant portion of the second quarter, just had to trust her young players. So there have been moments during the regular season where Blake's has played in the first half with 2 fouls. She has the experience.
Pierre, a 3 is off, comes out here, but to your point, that doesn't mean she's going to be out till halftime. And Shea Ralph talked about how she's evolved as a coach in that regard also, that when she started out as a head coach, she was very reticent to have any players stay in with 2 fouls in the first half. Now is more aggressive with it. Off the trap, Johnson can't hit the 3. Edwards the rebound and the putback.
Yeah, when Vanderbilt blitzes up top, they zone up and on the backside. So if South Carolina can make the pass out of that blitz, they're going to get good looks and offensive rebound opportunities as Vanderbilt's defense is in rotation.
The freshman Edwards, already 4 points, 2 rebounds off the bench. Moore missed that one. Edwards another rebound. The get ahead to Fulwiley. Dashing into the open floor. Malaysia Fulwiley couldn't finish it, but Fagan did.
And an outstanding screen set by Sanaya Fagan so Fulwiley could get that initial look.
Timeout on the floor. We'll be back in 30 seconds. First quarter action, South Carolina with a 6-0 run. A 17-13 lead over Vanderbilt, 1:49 to go in the first. And Joyce Edwards, Malaysia Fulwiley, Tessa Johnson making a big difference off the bench here in this first quarter. Meanwhile, Michaela Blake's on the bench with 2 fouls. Madison Green in with the basketball for Vanderbilt. Here's Pierre. Pierre at it, stripped by Fagan, gets back to it. Squeezes it out, possession alive for Vanderbilt. Moore. Back to Green, 5 to shoot. Green to Pierre, 2 to shoot. Pierre able to storm to the cup for the finish. What a tough bucket from Camille Pierre.
She is really good catching at about 15 to 17 feet and then driving hard with her right hand.
Here's McDaniel. McDaniel into Edwards, extra feed to Fagan.
And that's what I'm talking about, Ryan. You get past the blitz, and then you're going to have a 4-on-3 opportunity. South Carolina passes the ball well against that, gets an easy look.
And their bigs pass it. Well, Edwards is such a good passer, such good vision. Same for Fagan. Pierre, short. Rebound. Taken by Green, initially lost it, got it back. 15 on the shot clock. Moore, step back jumper is off. Here comes Fulwiley. Shot clock turned off, but Fulwiley gonna blitz to the bucket.
Blazing speed. Malaysia's Fulwiley simply has blazing speed in the open floor.
The SEC 6th Woman of the Year. A 10-2 run for South Carolina. Fulwiley the steal at the horn. You bet.
Malaysia Fulwiley gets another pick, has the awareness of how much time is on the clock, steps into the 3 with confidence. Look at her. Look at the crowd. Look at her team. Look at South Carolina go.
Always fun at Champ Week, and what an electric finish to the quarter from Malaysia Fulwiley.
Just using her electric speed as she gets out in transition.
Prior to the expiration of the game clock.
First, getting the 2 and then pulling up for the 3. Thank yous for the officials confirming that was released in time. And what's crazy, Ryan, is how much this game is mirroring their regular season matchup. In the regular season matchup, Michaela Blakes, who's back on the floor, picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter and then came back in. In the regular season matchup, Malaysia Fulwiley scored 7 straight late in the first quarter to blow the game open. It feels like we've had that happen here again.
It's so interesting, Rebecca, because when Fulwiley comes off that initial rebound for the layup, the shot clock's turned off. A lot of times you say, hey, pull it out, hold for a final shot. Well, she saw she had an opportunity in transition, decided to go for it, ended up turning it into a little 5-0 burst to finish. Shot clock down to 3. Lappin is trying to throw it out and has it taken away. Leilani Cabanis into the game off the bench for Vanderbilt. Michaela Blake's back in with her 2 fouls. Here's Pow Pow, her 3 is good. Moore, long 2, no. Rebound, Pow Pow. Veering away from traffic. Here's Johnson on the run, banks it in.
Really great vision by Te-Hina Pow Pow to find Raven Johnson on the complete opposite side of the floor and deliver it to her for the easy 2.
Vanderbilt had a 13-11 lead when Michaela Blakes went out with her 2nd foul. Been all South Carolina since, as Moore misses the 3. Rebound Oliver, keeping it alive. Pierre able to finish. Dawn Staley was so complimentary of Camille Pierre, saying, hey, I think since not being named to one of the all-SEC teams, she's played with an even elevated level of ferocity and purpose. Saw that yesterday in the win against Tennessee. Knock away here, kept alive by Fagan. Hall scoots through, can't finish. Out of bounds to Vanderbilt.
I mean, it really is remarkable that Camille Pierre was not named to one of the top 2 SEC teams.
You take a look at those numbers. I mean, top 4 in so many key categories as we send things over to Holly.
Well, you guys, I don't see this very often where a school puts out a tweet saying this young woman was robbed. She didn't make the all-conference list. They really stood up for her. They believe that she's one of the best in the league, and she has had a big chip on her shoulder here. You could see it in her play yesterday, but she has proven to be one of the best players in the conference, and Vandy is starting to demand some of that respect.
No doubt about it, Hall, as Pow Pow can't finish. Fagan can on the interior. I think when you consider that there's 10 players first team, 10 players second team, you can't come up with a cogent reason for Camille Pierre not being on one of those teams.
Agreed.
Pierre can't hit there, and out of bounds. Take a look at the ACC women's basketball tournament bracket. NC State, Georgia Tech, Florida State, North Carolina, Duke, Louisville, and Notre Dame, California. Those are the quarterfinal matchups today.
One of the things that's really hurt Vanderbilt defensively is they're missing shots on the offensive end, and South Carolina thrives so much in the open floor and transition. And we've seen Vanderbilt have some success when they can play their quarter-court defense.
Like that. Pierre nearly saved it after the initial knockaway. So South Carolina gone back to their starters after Fulwiley, Edwards, Johnson. Maddie McDaniel did an outstanding job coming off the bench, led by Fulwiley. Here's Pow Pow. Hall lines up a 3 and connects. South Carolina now 4 for 6 from deep as that 3's airballed. Taken in by South Carolina on an extended 23-4 run. Pow Pow, pitter-patter dribble through traffic, stops on a dime and banks it in.
So 2 possessions in a row. Te-Hina Pow Pow gets dribble penetration. The first time she used it to assist a teammate for an open 3. That time gets herself an easy look at the rim. Good things happen when you get touches in the paint, whether that's a post entry or whether that's off dribble penetration. This time it's the latter. Pow Pow gets in there, retreats, and then goes right back at the rim.
Te-Hina Pow Pow, who figures to be a selection in this year's WNBA draft, was such a key cog to South Carolina's undefeated championship team a season ago. Here's Moore, left it short. Fulwiley the rebound, and then a tie-up. Possession arrow belongs to South Carolina. Dawn Staley upset, felt like it should have been a foul. To the naked eye, thought Dawn had a point.
Vanderbilt in a 2-3 zone. Protect the players that are in foul trouble.
Knocked away by Pierre. Blake's the steal, and she is fouled from behind, trying to spring more in transition. But you're right, Rebecca. When Vanderbilt has been able to set up in the corner court, their defense has been disruptive.
Disruptive, solid.
Yes, but South Carolina got in that run in transition, was able to really separate.
Well, you have to score or have a dead ball in order to set up your defense, and Vanderbilt has just had such a difficult time getting anything to drop since the first quarter. 2 points here in the second quarter.
Here's Johnson. Getting it out. You see the paint points, again a big difference in favor of South Carolina, just like we saw February 23rd when these teams met. Charlie Cream, by the way, right now has Vanderbilt projected as an 8 seed. As Raven Johnson leaves it short. And then Robbie just never saw it. And Vanderbilt gives it right back. South Carolina turns it over. So 3 straight turnovers there. South Carolina with 6 turnovers now in the half. South Carolina has been the top seed in the SEC tournament in 9 of the last 12 seasons. Michaela Blake's dealt with foul trouble in that first quarter. Been a while since she scored. Can't hit there. Fulwiley mistimed the jump. Waba turns it over. Here comes Fulwiley. So fun to watch in the open floor. Fulwiley is fouled. And Malaysia Fulwiley will shoot 2. South Carolina leading by 19. Timeout on the floor.
Coming up at halftime, we've got plenty to discuss. Steffi, Nikki, Kelly, Alyssa here with you. We'll take you around the country, including the Big Ten tournament where Juju Watkins makes her debut. And we'll talk about this game. What are you seeing so far?
Well, right now, South Carolina has been dominant. Their statistics and the fast break points, offensive boards are starting to add up.
Well, you got to pick your poison with South Carolina, and right now they're not only scoring in the paint, 24 right now to 12, but they're also knocking down the 3 ball. They're shooting 67% from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
So Vanderbilt maybe need to change up their defense a little bit.
Yeah, but offensively, a lot of one-on-one play from Michaela Blake's, and I'd like to see them make South Carolina guard easier said than done, as we know. We'll talk more about it. Ryan, Rebecca, back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Looking forward to hearing you all at the half. Holly?
Well, Don Staley said that Malaysia Fulwiley has gotten to her superpower late in the season, and that is her speed. We have seen her breakneck speed down the court several times already in this game. I wanted to point out she's not the fastest, though, in her loving relationship with a world record holder. Her girlfriend is Demetria Ford, who is the world record holder in the 200 meters under 20, 2-time indoor national champion. I don't know if she's getting any speed pointers from Demetria, but I would hope so. I can't wait to see if they race one day.
That's a big-time athletic duo. Thank you, Hall, as Pierre tried to shovel it in with a fading shot clock, and Vanderbilt, who has scored just 2 points in the quarter, now 1 for 10 in the frame.
And to Steffi's point about, Blake's not trying to go one-on-one. So what do we see that time for Vanderbilt? Out of a timeout, a little bit more of a deliberate possession. But it's hard when you're struggling to score like this. You're trying to get everything back at once, and nothing has come easy.
Here's Edwards. Off to Fulwiley. Kids, 5 to shoot. Kids fading away. Oh, that's nicely done by Chloe Kitts.
Edwards and Kitts play off of one another so well. You saw Edwards pass, and as she was cutting through the lane, Kitts went off her back.
Blake short on a 3, gets it back. Nearly gave it away. Here's Moore. Oliver finds Pierre. Her jumper is good. Camille Pierre has been the one offensive option for Vanderbilt with 8 points. That ends an 11-0 South Carolina run. Edwards pivoting inside, gets fouled by Oliver. And free throws for Joyce Edwards.
Give your guard or your post a target hand. Look at Chloe Kitts. She has her right hand up so that Edwards knows she's going to go to the top. And then you saw Edwards just cut through the lane, and Kitts is able to drive by, get to the rim, nice little fade.
South Carolina, just in general, has had a good pop to them in this first half. A good verve. This is a team that has gone through some adversity this season. 3 losses is more than they're used to with their recent success. And had 2 of those losses near each other late with Texas and Connecticut. But over the final couple weeks of the regular season, now this first half today, looking very much like the formidable South Carolina team.
A very different presence about them here today, Ryan, than when we saw them against both UConn and at Texas.
18-4, they've outscored Vanderbilt in the second. On the reverse, Oliver can't finish. Banged alive for a moment, but then taken away. Here's Fulwiley swimming and finishing. Malaysia Fulwiley, the ingenuity in the open floor.
How do you slow down Malaysia Fulwiley when her superpower is her speed? Well, how about her bounce? Just cradling the ball over the top, finishing back over her head. Degree of difficulty high.
Malaysia Fulwiley, the SEC 6th Woman of the Year. 4th among all Division I players in points per game with no starts. And much like she did in the first meeting against Vanderbilt, she came into this game and completely changed the game.
Completely. I mean, especially at the end of that first quarter, but we've seen it here today. There simply hasn't been an answer. South Carolina been able to get out in the open floor. If you have Malaysia Fulwiley in the open floor, you're going to be doing just okay.
9 points, 4 rebounds for Fulwiley. Let's take a look at the SEC tournament bracket while we have a moment here. So winner of this game will play the winner of Kentucky, Oklahoma. That one coming up next. Their first meeting earlier in the regular season was really exciting. Georgia Amore dropped 43 in that game. That's going to be a fun one. Number 10 and number 12 ranked teams in the nation. Then later on tonight on SEC Network, Texas and Ole Miss, and LSU and Florida. Semifinals will be tomorrow on ESPN2.
Really interested to see what LSU is going to look like there. Without Flau'jae Johnson for the entire SEC tournament, they ended their regular season with back-to-back losses. Not used to seeing that. How are they going to respond here in their first game of the SEC tournament?
Meanwhile, before I mentioned the seeding projection for Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament, Charlie Cream updating that for Vandy now as a 7-seed projection entering this game. South Carolina on an extended 33-6 run as they force another turnover. Fulwiley in the mix again. Here's Johnson off the dish from Fulwiley. Her floater is off. Pierre the rebound. Just 4 points in the quarter for Vanderbilt as Moore gets fouled. And Moore will go to the line to shoot 2.
Last possession offensively. Vanderbilt runs across screen to get Pierre the ball on the block. What happens when she catches it? Malaysia Fulwiley happens. She comes from the blind side, taps the ball away, able to get the steal. Just great awareness by Fulwiley defensively.
And Dawn Staley was talking to us about how much Fulwiley has been thinking the game of late and seeing that growth and evolution while still also having the freedom to do all the unique athletic things she can do on the floor.
That's going to be her balance, right? Is to play with her incredible feel while at the same time thinking through things when she needs to.
Shot clock down to 5. McDaniel high stepping through the lane, denied by Pisat, and then the follow is good.
At times, South Carolina ghosting the screen, not giving Vanderbilt an opportunity to blitz up top if they wanted to.
Blakes gets fouled by Johnson. It'll be the second foul on Tessa Johnson. Free throws here for Michaela Blakes. Blakes just 2 for 7 in this first half. Has not scored since the 4:09 mark of the first quarter. Went out with 3 minutes to go in the first. After picking up her second foul, South Carolina then ended the quarter on a 13-2 run as Blakes hits the first.
Yes, in the game yesterday against Tennessee, Blakes had only 5 points in the first half. She was 2 for 8, but really came alive in the second half with 19. So she is capable of, we've seen her dealing with some foul trouble, and she is capable of having an explosive second half after a quiet first.
She had a 55-point game, set the NCAA freshman record and the SEC just overall record for most points in a game. In that game, she scored 30 in the final 11 minutes of the game. Fulwiley trapped, lost it. Here comes Vanderbilt. More dishes, Blakes short on a 3. Pierre trying to flag down the rebound and does. 45 seconds left in the half. Pierre wanted a whistle, didn't get it. About an 11-second difference game in shot clock. McDaniel looks back. And her head coach, Dawn Staley, setting up a play. Eight to shoot. Here comes the screen from Fagan. McDaniel had it poked by Pierre. 3 to shoot. McDaniel nearly banked it in. Fagan couldn't get it. Another chance. And that one is good. Miriam Dowda eventually getting it to drop. Fulwiley trying to repeat history. Couldn't quite get that one after another end of quarter steal. Finished the first with a steal in the 3. South Carolina with a 25-point lead at the half. After a massive second quarter where they hold Vanderbilt to just 8 points, Dawn Staley is with Holly.
Well, Coach, what goes through your mind when you see Mylasia Fulwiley come into the game and just blow it open with that speed?
I say to myself, she's something else. That's what I told her. She's something else. Incredible talent. Like, she plays off her intuition. She's got great basketball sense, and she leans in hard on it, and she's creative with it. I can't wait until she puts it all together.
When you have a big lead like this, what is your message to your team about the second half? We saw Michaela Blakes come out and have a great second half yesterday. What's the reminder?
It's habits. It's habits. At this time of the year, you got to play to your habits. You got to play good basketball, because good basketball is contagious. Bad basketball is contagious as well. So we want to stick to our habits. We want to keep advancing. This tournament is a special tournament to us, and we don't want to let our fans down.
Thank you, Coach. Great outfit, by the way. It's spectacular.
Par for the course for Dawn Spitz. Thank you, Holly. Time to get things to college basketball live scoreboard. Alyssa, Steffi, Kelly, Nikki will take you through everything. South Carolina, a 48-23 lead at the half in this quarterfinal matchup of the SEC tournament. This is the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament. Mylasia Fulwiley, all smiles in that first half, helping lead South Carolina to a 48-23 lead over Vanderbilt at halftime of this quarterfinal matchup. Taking a look at the championship bracket for the SEC Women's Tournament. Kentucky, Oklahoma up next, and LSU, Florida, and Texas, Ole Miss tonight. As we welcome you courtside once again, Ryan Rucco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. There are certain players you just can't take your eyes off of. Dawn Staley calls Mylasia Fulwiley a generational talent. You saw why in that first half.
I mean, you can take your eyes off her, but I wouldn't recommend it. She has been absolutely spectacular. When she's out on the floor, it's like watching somebody in a video game. As Steffi Sorensen said at the half, she is just electric. Offensively, defensively, comes down, knows how to meet the moment, and knows how to create the moment. Her teammates feed off of her energy. She brings joy to this team. Just so much fun to watch play.
The SEC Sixth Woman of the Year, South Carolina ended the half on a 37-10 run dominating the bench and the paint, and Vanderbilt tied for their fewest points in a quarter this season. So what does their head coach Shea Ralph have to say? Let's send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, Coach Ralph told me that they had a conversation about shot selection. You know, they are not moving the ball side to side. They're coming down, taking quick shots, and those rebounds are going the other way in transition. So they have got to be better. They've got to get to the rim. They've got to get to second and third actions. She said, I have to remind them, we're a really young team. We want to get it all back in one shot, and we just can't. We've got to be very intentional about how we play in the second half, even though we're down.
All right, thanks a lot, Hal. As Moore gets to the rim and is going to shoot free throws. Vanderbilt shot just 2 free throws the entire first half. They will shoot 2 on their first possession of the second half.
Yeah, Shea Ralph has to like that possession. Multiple players touching the basketball, getting a good look, driving to the basket, getting to the free throw line.
Moore in that first half was just 1 of 6. Yesterday, incredible against Tennessee at 23 points, was 8 of 11 from the floor. We're talking to Shea Ralph about Moore and the biggest difference between when she's locked in versus not. And said number one key for her, she just has to shoot when she's open.
And also understanding the importance of the other parts of her game. As you see here, Vanderbilt extending their full court pressure. Raven Johnson doing a really nice job until then, navigating it.
Backcourt violation on the turnover. That is the 8th turnover for South Carolina.
Johnson got out of the trap, but then kind of left her feet and had to get rid of the basketball for the turnover.
Here's Pierre. Moore dishes to the wing. Waba gives it up. Here's Pierre. Pierre diving inside, lost it out of bounds, and it's going to be South Carolina basketball.
But good patience on that possession offensively for Vanderbilt. It's not just a huck of a shot where South Carolina can run the other way in transition. And again, full court pressure extended. Vanderbilt will look to trap.
Powell breaks the timeline. Bounces into Fagan. Fagan shoots it over to Johnson just in front of the South Carolina bench. Shot clock at 5. Johnson can't finish. Got it back. Can't flip it in. And the rebound secured by Waba.
Great start defensively, those last 2 possessions for Vanderbilt.
Here's Moore. Step back 3. No. And hits the rebound. Pitts is going to be fouled, and a little extended tie up there with Jordan Oliver. And it's going to be a personal foul on Oliver.
Those always crack me up. The 2 players who are in a jump ball, they both hear the whistle blow, and neither of them are going to let go of it. It's like 2 kids with a toy.
Yeah.
Mom says to let go of it. I'm not letting go of it. No harm, no foul, though.
Pitts hangs on. You see Kentucky getting locked in. They will play next against Oklahoma. Number 10 and number 12 team in the nation. The number 4 and the number 5 seeds in this SEC tournament. Fagan, little flip shot, won't go. Pierre, the rebound. Here's Pierre veering through traffic. Gets fouled, and Camille Pierre is going to the line. So already more free throws will be shot in the first 2 minutes of the second half than Vanderbilt had the entire first half.
Shea Ralph has to be thrilled with how her team has come out here the first 2 minutes on the defensive end of the floor. They've gotten 3 consecutive stops. They've been on point there. They're on the offensive end now, looking to attack, get to the paint, getting to the free throw line. Down 23, but you still have to chip away.
Holly?
Well, Camille Pierre is such an interesting story. She just barely tried out for basketball her freshman year of high school. She was a high-level soccer player, but after a growth spurt decided basketball might be her future. And after just 3 months of AAU basketball, she got 45 Division I offers. In fact, she was so good in high school, her jersey is hanging in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame after averaging 24 points and 9 rebounds as a senior. really picked it up pretty quick, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like it, Paul. Pretty amazing. And Pierre, just a sophomore, coming up with a steal here. Here's Pierre trying to beat the defense to the bucket. She does. Look out. Chloe Kitts fell down. Waba didn't see her and took a tumble over Kitts. Hit the hardwood with some force. Waba gets up, appears to be okay. Her and Kitts stap each other up, and here's just the end. You see Waba just kind of tumble over Kitts. After a nice play by Pierre. You know, Pierre just a sophomore as well. So you have Blake's a freshman, you have Pierre, a sophomore. Something exciting that Vanderbilt's building upon here under Shea Ralph. Here's Kitts to the corner, pow off on a three. Rebound poked in the air, Pierre taps it in, and Blakes comes up with it. Here's Michaela Blakes laying it off, but is fouled. But a better start here to the third for Vanderbilt. And remember, it was when Dawn Staley went to the bench that things took off for South Carolina in the first half. And that's exactly what Coach Staley's going to do here with Mylasia Fulwiley and Joyce Edwards.
We know how great South Carolina is in transition, and the hardest way to get out in transition is when you're defensively on the free throw line, and South Carolina has continued to foul early here in this third quarter. Credit to Vanderbilt for sort of forcing the action, finding their way to the free throw line.
Blakes hits both. 18-point game. Vanderbilt trailed by 25 at the half. Pressure here. Hits. Looking for some guard help. Finds it in pow. Here's Fulwiley, open three, no. And rebound tapped out of bounds by South Carolina. Vanderbilt basketball.
Again, you switch up your defenses to try to take your opponent out of their rhythm, and certainly South Carolina here in the third quarter has struggled to find any rhythm offensively.
They have not scored yet in this third. Here's Blakes turning the corner and finishing. A 9-0 Vanderbilt run. Their longest run of the day. 16-point game. South Carolina 0 for 5 from the floor. 2 turnovers in this third. Kitts redirects, hauls three, off. Rebound, Edwards took it out of the hands of Blakes. Can't bank it in. Pierre ends up with a rebound for Vanderbilt. Here comes Michaela Blakes. Pull-up jumper off. Rebound tipped out of bounds. It'll stay here. Last hit, pow.
South Carolina last possession got a really good look from the corner. Got the offensive board. Couldn't get that to drop. Again, just not quite the flow, the rhythm, the balance that we saw in the first half from South Carolina. Credit Vanderbilt's defense.
Now Tessa Johnson will check in for South Carolina. Tessa started to come on at the end of the regular season as well after having what Dawn Staley termed to us an unremarkable season at large, but said she wants tournament Tessa now the rest of the way after Tessa Johnson was critical in South Carolina's national championship run a season ago.
Coming off a big win and performance against Kentucky at the end of the regular season.
Here's Edwards sliding in, couldn't finish it. Chloe Kitts uncontested on the glass. Blakes didn't want to pick up a third, and Waba was just kind of ball watching. As Vanderbilt gives it away, here comes Fulwiley with space. Fulwiley gets fouled. Stays here with South Carolina.
Starts on the defensive end for South Carolina. Joyce Edwards reads the pass beautifully, able to get in and just snag it out of midair. And then Kitts to the offensive glass with no one there to contest or make it difficult for her.
Just watching. Here's Kitts. Kitts goes baseline and banks it in. Chloe Kitts up to 12 points. She's 6 for 7 from the floor. Pierre facing up. Soft touch for Camille Pierre. Now with 15.
She's Tim Duncan-like in her pace of play.
Yeah.
Catches, all right, now I'm going to turn face up. What am I going to do? Maybe jab step, maybe shoot, maybe drive.
Always under control.
Yes.
Fulwiley doesn't get the roll. Rebound, Pierre. Fulwiley steals it away. And then dribbles it off her foot out of bounds. Timeout on the floor. Dawn Staley upset with the turnover after the steal. But Chloe Kidd's getting it done today.
Yeah, she's been good. Offense here for South Carolina in the third quarter. Sheds the D, goes in, finishes the tougher one.
Next on ESPN, Reagan Beers in Oklahoma facing Kentucky. Those two played a very entertaining matchup in the regular season. Georgia Amore had 43 points in that game, and Kentucky needed all of it. Excited to see what it's like in the rematch. The quarterfinals of this SEC tournament, that's up next here on ESPN. In Greenville, South Carolina. The Gamecocks an 18-point lead over the Vanderbilt. Had a 25-point lead at the half. Been a better third thus far for Vandy as Moore drains the three. And they have shaved 10 points off the halftime deficit.
Really well executed play by Vanderbilt to eventually get Moore the look from the wing. And those are the shots Shea Ralph said when she is open for those looks, she has to take them.
Vandy had missed its last 8 threes. Johnson connects. Big response bucket there from Tessa Johnson. South Carolina 5 for 10 from 3. Becomes such a difficult team to beat when they're shooting like that from deep. Here's Pierre. Pierre barging inside, can't bank it in. Johnson the rebound. Happiness nearly came up with a steal. Instead, South Carolina with numbers. Edwards, no. Kids the rebound, and a tie-up with the possession arrow belonging to South Carolina. Hey, later today on the SEC Network, the SEC Now crew will have a complete breakdown of games with highlights, analysis, and interviews with coaches and players. SEC Now, 5:30 tonight on the SEC Network. Hi, ladies. Here's Kids, can't bank it in.
I like that you waved at the monitor instead of them in the same arena.
It's an excellent point.
It's like when kids wave at Elmo on the screen.
That's just how real television is to me. 18-point South Carolina lead, under 3:30 to go in the third.
Or Bluey, who are kids waving to these days on the other side of the television?
Yeah, no, it depends on the age.
Right.
Right now, we're all about Disney princesses and villains in my house.
Okay. And what about Evie?
Here's more. Lob inside, a beautiful feed, and Pierre finishes. Really good look there from Jordan Oliver.
Good look and a great job by Pierre, recognizing the guard had switched on her and she had the size advantage.
Fulwiley contorts herself, couldn't finish. Blake's the rebound. And Blake's is tripped up in the backcourt by Edwards.
6'2", Camille Pierre. We've seen her face the basket a lot here. She sees that it's Pow who's stuck fronting her, so she works her way up the post, work up the lane, finger point to show your teammate where you want the basketball delivered. Well done by Camille Pierre.
At 16 points, 15 rebounds, despite foul trouble in a win against Tennessee yesterday. Pierre, the only D1 player this year averaging at least 20.5 points and 9.5 rebounds. Here's Moore. Gives it up. So gives it back. Moore's three is off. Long rebound. Hall able to control it for South Carolina. Now trapped in some trouble. Kids comes back for it and gets it into Pow. 3-on-1 developing. Edwards holds it high. Misses the banker. South Carolina has missed 15 of their last 18 shots now. Blake's loose dribble. Moore's three is good. And suddenly, it is a 13-point game.
Extended pressure by Vanderbilt. The change sometimes in their schemes defensively has really slowed South Carolina down.
Vanderbilt's outscored South Carolina 19-7 in the quarter. Kitts off the catch, little mid-range. She got it. Chloe Kitts just so efficient, 7 for 9 now.
Showing off the versatility in her game, whether it's the post moves inside, facing up. You see the mid-range on the last possession.
Blake's good pass inside, and Mitchell banks it in.
What a tough pass by Blake's. Looked like she almost lost the handle a little bit and then just wrapped around and bounced it in.
Ayanna Mitchell on the board with her first points. Edwards is fouled by Kapanis. And now for our star stories, brought to you by the Home Depot. How about the bigs of South Carolina? Chloe Kitts, 14-7. Sanaya Fagan, who really the latter half of this season played very well. 10 points, 7 rebounds.
Sanaya Fagan, you see her there just coming into the game, and she does so much of her work kind of quietly. Whether it's scoring, rebounding, she does a good job setting screens or clearing pathways for her drivers to get to the rim.
Saw the numbers for Fagan and the numbers for Chloe Kitts as Joyce Edwards goes to the line. Let's send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, Chloe Kitts has absolutely transformed her physicality. If you look at her play this year, you almost don't recognize how strong she is around the basket, how demanding she is on those rebounds and putbacks. She's coming off a triple-double, her first triple-double at any level in her life, 16 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists against Ole Miss. But I spoke to their strength and conditioning coach, Molly Benetti, who does such a great job. Chloe has put on about 12 to 15 pounds. The challenge for her is keeping that weight on throughout the course of the season. She's often working out, lifting 2, sometimes 3 times a day. Chloe Kitts has transformed herself. I just want to give her some praise.
And remember, too, Holly, that was something Dawn Staley pointed out to us earlier in the year. She said the way Chloe Kitts is working has been incredible. She said sometimes, I don't know that she gets everything out of how much she works because she works so hard.
Yeah, she said she approaches the game like a pro, and in her routines and her rhythms, and even if you're not getting out of it what you're putting into it early in the season, it's going to be cumulative, and you can certainly see her now getting more out of the work that she has put in.
Third foul on Fagan. Blake's will go back to the line. Vanderbilt living at the line in this third. This will be their 7th and 8th free throws of the quarter after they had 2 total in the first half. Blake's now 6 for 6 from the free throw line. 13-point South Carolina lead. Quarterfinal matchup. This SEC tournament, winner will face the winner of Oklahoma-Kentucky. That game up next on ESPN. Edwards, nice footwork and the fillet.
Really good job by Edwards to step in front and seal.
Mitchell trying to get to it and save it. She does. Blake's keeps it in the front court, but South Carolina ends up with control. Johnson trying to evade traffic, could not. What a play by Edwards, though. And Dawn Staley wants to take a timeout. Joyce Edwards with a sensational save, diving to retain the possession, and Dawn Staley wants to talk about it with 17 seconds to go in the third.
Edwards had scored the previous possession. Look at the look on her face. Determination. 15 of Vanderbilt's 23 points in this third quarter have come from Camille Pierre and Ayanna Moore. Both the presence inside, presence outside. Shea Ralph talked about the importance of both of these players, and we're certainly seeing their impact here in the third quarter.
Well, in the first half, Vanderbilt had just 23 points on 10 of 33 shooting. Here in the third, they have 23 on 7 of 11 shooting. They trailed by 25 at the half. It is 15 currently in a matchup against the top seed, South Carolina. Shot clock turned off, 17 seconds remaining in the third, and a foul given there by Moore. Her second personal. Vanderbilt had one to give. Here's Edwards, trapped. The freshman trying to evade it. Fires it out of bounds to Vanderbilt. So once again, that pressure effective for Vanderbilt.
Certainly feel good about that if you're Vanderbilt, especially after Dawn Staley used a timeout to draw up a play.
6 seconds left in the quarter. Blakes draws the foul on Johnson, and Michaela Blakes is going to go to the line with South Carolina over the limit. That's number 3 on Tessa Johnson. I think that's the right call.
Yeah.
Had that arm extended, not in legal guarding position.
And she wasn't in the spot.
Yes, hadn't known the real estate. So Blakes goes back to the line. She's now 7 of 7 on the day. Michaela Blakes, the leading freshman scorer in the nation, over 23 a game. The SEC Freshman of the Year. First team All-SEC. 3.8 left. Johnson trapped in the backcourt. She's got nothing going. That'll do it for the third. A big third quarter for Vanderbilt. They outscore South Carolina by 12 in the frame. Fourth quarter action coming up next in this quarterfinal matchup of the SEC tournament between the top seed South Carolina and 8 seed Vanderbilt. Fourth quarter up next.
She is absolutely stacked. Huge shot for Kentucky. Will and deal with the finish. Ashton Booker, one of the best in the country. Oh my goodness! Put it on the highlights. Hey! Let's go!
Well, some top teams we haven't seen yet here in Greenville that we will by the end of the day. Kentucky, Oklahoma up next here on ESPN. Later on tonight, Texas, the #1 team in the nation, the #2 team in this tournament, will face Ole Miss on SEC Network, and then we close out tonight with LSU and Florida. Semis tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern. It begins on ESPN2. Start of the fourth quarter here in this quarterfinal matchup between South Carolina, the top seed, and 8 seed Vanderbilt. 61-48, South Carolina leads it. That lead was 25 to begin the third. A big third quarter from Vanderbilt. They outscored the Gamecocks 25-13. Nice little pivot on side, but no finish there from Oliver. Another chance for Vanderbilt, though. Here's Pierre, quick first step. Lost it, but got it to Oliver, who banks it in.
Vanderbilt has done such a good job here in the second half. Now they can still extend their pressure a little bit, but backing off, they've just controlled the rhythm and the flow of this second half, have not let South Carolina get things going at all in transition.
South Carolina shot just 26% in that third after they were at 65% in the first half. Johnson gets fouled, and I believe it's going to be Blakes. That would be, nope, they will call it not on Blakes, instead on Kapanis, as you take a look at the shot chart for South Carolina in that third.
And a lot of good looks in the paint that South Carolina was not able to hit, but those did not come in flow, did not come in transition, not explosive plays by a player like Fulwiley that we saw in the first half. Ryan, South Carolina in that third quarter had 5 made field goals and 6 personal fouls committed.
Right.
Not the best ratio,
No.
and not something we're accustomed to seeing from them.
Not something Dawn Staley's going to want. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, Shea Ralph in that last timeout was so enthused with her team. She was talking about their relentless effort, every single possession, every single rebound. She knows that her team is out-toughing South Carolina right now, and she's feeding into that with them. Remember, Shea Ralph is one of the most competitive people you'll ever see. I remember a 2000 practice at UConn that I was like, I'd have never want to go against that woman. She won a national championship there, and that enthusiasm is what she just brought to her huddle just now.
She was the Final Four most outstanding player that year. Moore connects on a 3, and it's a single-digit deficit now for Vanderbilt. First time since it was 24-15. And what a find to set up Moore in the corner. Moore now has 11 in the second half. Pow, circling, dishing, out of bounds. It's Vanderbilt basketball.
What a play the last time down. The screen by Michaela Blakes, the cross-court pass. Look at that screen. That's what gives Moore the time and space to get that great look.
9-point game. Here comes Blakes. Moore gonna drive it this time. Moore step back is off. And it had Pappas open on the wing. Didn't find her, and then a foul on Pierre in the backcourt. That'll be her first.
Oh, that was a tough call. Pierre trying to slow down South Carolina's transition by jamming the rebounder.
Big difference for Ayanna Moore versus the first meeting against South Carolina and what's happened today.
So Pierre right there. She trips up Pow Pow. But that's one way you slow down transition. Try to jam the person who's gotten the rebound or the initial outlet and just slow them down so they can't get a head full of steam going over midcourt.
Rebecca, we veered into, Vanderbilt took the deficit and made this game more presentable. They could feel good about some things too. Whoa, it's a single-digit deficit with a lot of time left. Here's Kitts dishing out. Pow Pow to the corner. Johnson lost it out of bounds, and that's going to be Vanderbilt basketball.
You heard Tollyrow talk about Vanderbilt's toughness, and it's been their quickness and their energy as well. They have certainly felt a renewed life here in this second half.
13 turnovers for South Carolina. Here's Blake shoveling it up and off. Fagan the rebound. Now here's where South Carolina is so dangerous. In transition, Vanderbilt did a nice job getting back. Kitts, great position. And Pow Pow finds her.
That is a fantastic post-entry pass by Te-Hina Pow Pow.
16 points for Kitts. Pierre face up, no. Pow Pow the rebound, gets fouled by Pierre.
Chloe Kitts does a really good job of sealing her defender, and then Pow Pow recognizing it, sees the target hand, and throws it right to it. Could be a lost art, that entry pass to the big girl, and she did it well there.
Malaysia Fulwiley back in for South Carolina. So is Maddie McDaniel. Fulwiley has been a game changer. Saw it at the end of the first quarter. And she helped spark a 13-2 South Carolina run. Saw it for a huge chunk of the second. Now coming in with South Carolina leading by 11, 3 minutes into the fourth. Kitts. Surrounded, evades, Fulwiley gets back to it, 5 to shoot. Fulwiley trying to create, up under and in, he is in the window. There's no such thing as a tough angle for Malaysia Fulwiley. Blake's got bumped, no call, ends up back with her, and she sticks the three. First three of the day for Michaela Blakes. Big bucket there from Vanderbilt, who after starting 1 of 10 from 3, they're 4 for their last 6. Fulwiley dropped it out of bounds, and another South Carolina turnover.
You see the save here by Malaysia Fulwiley, but she's behind the backboard, which causes her to do kind of a double clutch right there. Get back to the other side and finish.
Here's Moore, being guarded by Fulwiley. Oliver bounces underneath, and Mitchell lays it in. 8-point game. Still more than 5 minutes to go here in this fourth. Tessa Johnson loses it out of bounds, and there's been a lot of turnovers like that here in this fourth. South Carolina just losing control of the basketball.
Oliver thought she was going to hand it off, sheds the defense instead, makes the nice pass inside to Mitchell.
15 turnovers for South Carolina now as Johnson checks out. We haul back in for the Gamecocks, so is Pow Pow. Pierre getting a breather for Vanderbilt. Here's Moore. Moore patiently pumps it up and in with the left hand. It's a 6-point game. South Carolina led by 25 at the half.
Wow, look at Blake's fighting inside in the post.
Fulwiley ended up with an open lane. And then telling her teammates, calm down, calm down. 13 for Fulwiley. Blake's launches and banks it in. Some found money for Michaela Blake's. 5-point game. Blake's has 14 in the second half. Had a huge second half yesterday in the win against Tennessee. Pow Pow backs away, and a whistle is going to stay here. Fouls on Kapanis, and it is the 14th foul against Vanderbilt. Under 4 minutes to go. This game has tightened significantly.
The experts at work have been Vanderbilt's guards, able to drain threes here in the fourth quarter. It's helped lead their charge to get back into this game, cut the deficit to 5. Completely different Vanderbilt team here in the second half.
Largest comeback in SEC history, 18 in 2009 by Mississippi State over South Carolina. South Carolina led by 25 at the half today, and Vanderbilt has cut it to 5 with 3:58 to go in the fourth. Here's Kitts. Kitts has been their best option offensively, and a big bucket there for Chloe Kitts. 18 on 9 of 11 shooting.
Better the ball at the free throw line area and let the big girl go to work.
And you hear the Gamecock faithful roaring here in Greenville. Moore tiptoeing. Whoa, nearly got away with a carry. Here's Blake's 5 to shoot. Blake spinning, twisting, couldn't curl it in. Shot clock at 1, Oliver doesn't see it. And a shot clock violation on Vanderbilt.
Right, I want to go to a couple previous possessions. You see some frustration on the Vanderbilt sideline from their coaches there. Look at Fagan just posting up hard against Blake, hooking her. That was a no call where South Carolina scored, and then here, 2 possessions ago there, that should not have been a foul on Vanderbilt.
If anything, should have been a whistle on Kitts. Here is Kitts. She got it. Chloe Kitts looking to close.
Last 2 possessions, Chloe Kitts has been terrific offensively.
20 points for Kitts, 1 off her season high, which is also her career high. Blakes turns the corner, a little flip shot is off. Rebound Kitts. Pierre remains on the bench for Vanderbilt, getting ready to check back in, but did not come in out of that last timeout. And Shea Ralph elected to stay with this group that had been having success. Here's Pow Pow dumping it in. Fagan the shovel, Kitts 2 more. A career high 22 for Chloe Kitts, including 6 straight for South Carolina.
Well, Chloe Kitts certainly has been performing and competing, especially here in the second half. Her team has needed her to score. She's gotten in, shown toughness, got to the offensive glass, posted up, demanded the basketball, pointed, showing her teammates where to get it to her. Facing up, using her dribble, getting inside. How about the 17-footer as well? Wow, Chloe Kitts has been outstanding, especially here in these last few minutes, Ryan.
The junior with 22 points, a career high. And after Vanderbilt had cut it to 5, Kitts goes on a personal 6-0 run. And the South Carolina lead is back to 11. Now Camille Pierre is back in for Vanderbilt. Here's Blakes. Boy, the South Carolina fans are loud here in Greenville as Pierre can't hit. Foul on Kapanis. That's going to put Kitts at the line with Vanderbilt over the limit. And Shea Ralph's team, with an incredible second half, put themselves in position to be able to pull off this comeback. Down 25, cut it to 5 with plenty of time left. But all South Carolina over the last couple of minutes, and now looking to separate some more.
I mean, Vanderbilt just came out in the second half and did what they needed to do defensively, made big shots offensively, and then, yes, Chloe Kitts happened here to them the last stretch of this fourth quarter.
Kitts misses the second free throw, and it's going to be out of bounds off of Vanderbilt. But they will take a look and see whether or not that was the correct call.
The previous out-of-bounds play is under review. The call on the floor is South Carolina's ball.
I think it's the right call.
It's the right call.
That's off of Moore, isn't it?
I believe it is.
It's nice having all these cameras and all these angles, and we get to see it all.
Clearly, last hits looks like Moore. Maybe Fagan got away with a hook there of Pierre.
But you can't take that into consideration in the women's college game, only in the WNBA. So yeah, clearly off of Moore, yes?
Well, let's see, follow this through. Yeah, last hits Moore. Certainly wouldn't be anything there to overturn.
The call on the floor is confirmed. South Carolina ball. The game clock stopped properly and will not be adjusted.
Well, we love it when it stops properly.
She said game clock. I thought she was going to say game clock.
Well, they have also adjusted properly over the last couple of minutes. 1:47 to go in the fourth, a 7-0 run for South Carolina after Vanderbilt had cut it to 5. Here's Fulwiley. Fulwiley behind the back, one up. Fagan lays it in. A little sauce at the finish line for South Carolina. And a foul against Sanaya Fagan on the other end.
I mean, Mylasia Fulwiley, this is the only pass that could get through. She has 3 defenders staring at her, wondering what she's going to do next, and she does the one thing that could lead to an assist with the behind-the-back pass.
9-0 run for South Carolina. Pierre, no. Rebound, Fagan. She's fouled, and free throws for Sanaya Fagan. This was a 68-63 game with 4:22 to go, and Vanderbilt has not scored since. Been a big day for Sanaya Fagan. 12 points, 9 rebounds. We were talking to Dawn Staley a couple weeks ago about, do you have a separator this year? Because she would always tell us that Camila Cardoso was their separator a season ago, and obviously we saw that play out in the national championship game and really throughout March and April. And she said, Sanaya Fagan, said because keeping her on the floor, keeping her out of foul trouble, she's such a critical communicator on the floor for our team that our separator is just having her out there. Moore at it, blocked by guess who? Sanaya Fagan. South Carolina off to the races.
The smiles on the South Carolina players' faces after that play, coming back down. They have refound their mojo in the fourth.
A 12-0 run, Kitts the block. Kitts gonna back it out. Hall gets it to Fulwiley. South Carolina will run clock now. And Dawn Staley will take a timeout. Third straight double-double for Chloe Kitts for the first time in her career. What a performance.
Chloe Kitts showed incredible toughness today, and it's not always how many, but when you get them, and her production was key, in particular this huge stretch here in the fourth quarter.
25 points, 10 rebounds for Kitts. Fulwiley, the crossover, the zig, the dish, and the finish. Edwards off the delivery from Fulwiley. A 14-0 South Carolina run after Vanderbilt had closed to within 5. Fulwiley, one last highlight. Gets it ahead to Hall, lays it up short. Fulwiley takes it away and lays it in. Vanderbilt made an incredible comeback from down 25 to cutting it to 5 with about 4 minutes to go. But a 16-0 South Carolina run to finish this game and head to the SEC semifinals. (84-63) the final, and the 12th semifinal appearance in this tournament in the last 14 seasons for the Gamecocks. And Chloe Kitts, not only does she put up 25 and 10, not only does she go on a personal 7-0 run after Vanderbilt closes to within 5, but she does it while going 12 of 14 from the floor.
Incredible efficiency, and you see it's not just easy looks inside. Some of these were tough, off the bounce, mid-range, and always at big moments late in that fourth quarter. Wow, she was so good here today.
And Holly is with Chloe Kitts.
Chloe, you were so crucial in this game. They pulled within 5 points, 4 minutes left to play, and you decided to change the course of this game. How did you do that?
Confidence. My coaches and my team had been telling me I need to be more confident, and they kept running plays for me, and I just kept delivering.
It seems like there's been a flip that has switched for you right now, or switch that's flipped for you right now. You've got 3 straight double-doubles for the first time in your career. What is motivating you right now?
I just want to win. That's it. I'm doing everything I can for my team, and that's it.
You've gone from a contributor to a dominator. You have been stronger physically in the paint, making your insistence on the rebounding. How are you doing that?
I'm just going out there and playing as hard as I can. I got to play every game like it's my last, and I'm just out here playing for my teammates.
You guys closed the game on a 16-0 run. What is that like to make that kind of a statement?
I mean, it feels great. We just got to worry about the next game now.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you.
Well, Chloe Kitts already worried about the semifinals. Her dad loving the performance. A big kiss from Papa Kitts as South Carolina awaits the winner of Kentucky-Oklahoma. That should be a terrific matchup. That's coming up next here on ESPN. Once again, our final score, South Carolina 84, Vanderbilt 63.